This episode of the WP Minute is brought to you by OmniSend. Do you sell stuff online? Then you need to meet OmniSend, the powerful yet refreshingly intuitive email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 for every dollar spent. OmniSend is that good and effective. You probably know the struggles of investing in digital ads with no guarantee it'll bring money back into your pocket. Use OmniSend and you won't have to find creative ways to make your audience notice you. You just talk straight to them. Use OmniSend pop-ups to build a contact list, then send campaigns directly to people who already want to hear from you. Automate everything with OmniSend. Just set it up once, sit back, and watch those sales roll in. If this sounds too good to be true, check it out at omnisend.com. Visit omnisend.com. Tell them thanks for sponsoring the WP Minute. Vova Feldman, Freemius, welcome to the WP Minute.
Thank you, Matt. Enjoying and glad to be here.
It's been a while since you and I have chatted on record, so I'm assuming this will be really fun today. It's been a few years. Where is Freemius these days? How have you changed over the course of the last few years, and how's business generally for you?
Yeah, business is doing well. In the past year or so, we expanded beyond the WordPress ecosystem. It was something that we, always planned to do. Just we're not sure what would be the next kind of platform or ecosystem, and we're strongly focused on SaaS and apps. As obviously we can see what's happening right now, SaaS is exploding, and with AI, it's even happening. It just became so much easier to start any type of software. So we've been doing that for, like I said, the last year and a half. We went through rebranding process. You asked about several years, so we grown as a team, hired leadership team. Really excited about the people that I'm working with and helping me, to get us to our next iteration, basically trying to be that go-to solution for selling any type of software.
I love this. I love the rebrand, by the way. I believe I commended you on Twitter. If I didn't, I apologize. I should have. The new rebrand on Freemius is great. Freemius.com. Links will be in the show notes. Of course, the new H1 on the homepage says simplify software sales, amplify innovation. For those that don't know, I'll draw the broader outline and then you can fill in the color. Years and years ago. In fact, I was talking I just coming back from PressConf. Part of the conversation was, man, it's been great. It's great to be back in a room with a bunch of people who are building WordPress software again and like talking about the business side of it. And I was sort of, reliving the past where in the hallway tracks of WordCamps, like we were talking to Pippin Williamson of Easy Digital Downloads. And he was like building the software for people as we were selling it, right? Like he was taking feature requests in the hallways and like, I'm going to build this for you. And that's like the process we all kind of grew up in. Freemius really took what I would say took the throne of like the go-to place for any serious, at the time, WordPress software business, right? Produce licenses, connect it up to an e-commerce platform, and then have like these different modes of being able to sell and get emails and capture. Like you were really, to simplify it, like you were really looking at the big picture of the e-commerce world for WordPress agencies and product owners beyond just the license key. Whereas where like EDD stopped. EDD was like, here's a license, here's some cool graphs, good luck. Like you were building everything else, that infrastructure around that. Are you still trying to build that same infrastructure for WordPress software and beyond now? Like how has that changed, if at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, before we got into SaaS, sorry, my cat here is going crazy, trying to climb on me and bump the mic. So I'm fighting with him a bit. So before we got into SaaS, we wanted to ensure that, we can bring value and not just starting another solution. And we started to do interviews with SaaS makers and our customers and kind of understand why they like us, what the things that we're doing differently. And I think our approach or realization is that developers, technical founders, software makers, they can build software, they can innovate, and like offering them the tool to sell is one thing, but just offering that was the cat, but offering just giving you the tool to sell is not enough, because just the payment part of thing solves you a technical problem, but you still need to think about the pricing, all the marketing automation in place. Like, in order to maximize the money side of the business, you need someone to direct you, either proactively with advice, or the platform needs to be opinionated towards your category of whatever you're selling in order to solve those things. Otherwise, there's a very long like learning curve that you need to figure out those things yourself. And the commerce space keep evolving all the time. There are new techniques how to sell. New things are getting popular. And now with AI, like usage-based kind of pricing is something that became very popular. But what I like saying is that, if I give you like the fastest racing car in the world, right? You won't be able to get the most out of it. You need a team behind it. You need that person, the engine guy, the people who will replace the wheels, whatever, all the team behind. So we sing ourselves as that team that offers you that fastest car in the world, but also gives you the backing so you'll know how to get the most out of it. So this is the approach we take. And definitely, looking on the SaaS ecosystem, the situation is the same, right? Building the app, the SaaS, like today with AI, it's becoming very easy. I mean, the raw initial MVP, I would say, but taking that and actually turning that into a business requires so much more knowledge, guidance, direction, experience, the right emails to be sent. How do you phrase those emails? The upsells, the surveys that you need to avoid to reduce churn. There are so many moving parts. And this is what we want to tackle as a whole package.
I'm curious how you have managed to, what I'll call like this hands-on experience of like educating other entrepreneurs and guiding them through like this whole process. I'm curious on how you've managed to scale this over the years. And I would assume maybe you're still iterating on it, because I totally believe that unscalable things like this, like hands-on customer support, walking you through the product, educating you, bringing you to the next level, I truly believe in that stuff. And I mean this in the best sense. Our friend probably, Syed Balki, I often think about when I look at things that I'm doing that are unscalable, I go, would Syed do this? And I think he would not do this, right? Because he's a very dollars and cents, optimize the business profitability, at least in my opinion. But I can't let go of this. Like, I love the fact that you're helping folks. But is it scalable? And how have you solved it over the years?
So we're still kind of figuring out how to scale that. It definitely comes with the challenges, but I would say that like if you're thinking about the journey of a maker, you don't really need to have that high touch kind of interactions on an ongoing basis. I mean, obviously that would be great, but there are like critical points in the journey where you need that guidance. And those are typically when you're launching something, right? When you're pricing and packaging something, which can come in multiple every few years. You better do some pricing and packaging, but it's not like constantly. There is, how do I grow the team? Hiring my first developer, my first support engineer. How do I tackle my first, partnership? Until you get to the point of, oh, I'm ready to sell my business. So if you think about it, it's not like we need to speak with every maker on a weekly basis. In fact, we had several periods where we had a full-time, call that, maker success role. And we kind of posted, hey guys, like here we are, we want to scale this, like meet us whenever you want. And we actually saw that people are very busy and we didn't get like the amount of interaction that we thought we'll get. So I would say a lot of that can be solved through educational content and just by guiding people to the right educational content, right? Because we're kind of conquering the software niche or previously the WordPress niche, we tackled each of those growth stages. And we have an article that is like hyper focused on that, a video that is hyper focused on that. So when someone either reach out to us or we see an opportunity that, they better consume that knowledge, we can just like very targeted tell them, hey guys, like look at this. If you want more than that, like we're happy to chat. So I think educational content and the fact that we're very focused on the niche of software, like we can provide very targeted advice through content and not necessarily having that one-on-one conversation. Many times one-on-one makes it easier, right? Because you hear the story, you hear the background, the needs, and you can like tailor feedback specifically for the use case. And that's also an option. So like we're very encouraging people to schedule time with us. So I would say it's a mixture of being reactive to what's coming through support and encouraging in different touch points in Freemius, in the software itself. Like in the pricing, we say, hey, like if you don't have experience in pricing, schedule a call with us. We're happy to help. Like in those places. And obviously we're very open. So if people are reaching out to us, as well as if we see opportunities, so we analyze data, look on some things, we see, this person, they have an amazing product, like they should make more money, right? Let's see what's happening there. But we definitely need to scale that. It's not there yet.
At what point did you realize we have to go beyond WordPress here? Was it the dawn of AI and people starting to build, fools like me who have access now to code things in React and, vibe code my way to success? Like, at what was it, that, or was it previous to that and you started to recognize the shift in the market? What was that aha moment for you and your team to be like, okay, we're going to shift away from purely WordPress and focus on all software at this point?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I think the answer will be a bit surprising. It happened before we started, before Freemius was established, because my background is going the VC route, building those startups. So when I started Freemius, before having any product, I went to raise money and I created presentations. And if you want to sell, a big vision to investors, it has to be huge. So I had to think myself, okay, how big this can be. And WordPress, I mean, it's big, but it's not VC big, So I had to think that, okay, what would be next after WordPress? And I still have those slides, and there are many ecosystems. SaaS was actually not one of those options because the thinking was more about platforms, basically ecosystems that extend something, right? I did think about mobile apps, but again, those are conquered by Apple and Google, right? Because they own the distribution. But there are Wix and HubSpot and Drupal, and there are many ecosystems. Browser extensions is pretty massive. But yeah, so it was always the plan. We're not sure when would be the right moment to do it. And actually the timing, it's not because of what happened, with all the WordPress drama or AI. It's just, I would say that I got the right people to go through the process, do the rebrand. It just happened. The timing was good and right before all the messes started. But so it was always a plan. I was forced to think big just because of those initial presentations.
I want to talk about the pricing in a moment. I remember you starting Freemius, obviously many years ago. Let me take a step back. I want to frame this, and I know you're not a guy who wants any platitudes or anything like that. But over the years, I think a lot of people have, well, at least not a lot, but I've seen it on Twitter, and I've always tried to step in to defend it. Right? People always question pricing and percentage and all these other things that maybe the user experience as you've grown over time. And I have to commend you for holding your ground so positively when you did get criticism on Twitter. And it's always just like, man, people, what what do you want? You're like, what more do you need from Freemius and Vova's team, to just make the exchange? Like, you're not going to build it yourself, and you can't complain about EDD at the same time. So then, what are we doing here? Like, Freemius is going to help you do all of these things, and yes, you have to make an exchange for a percentage of your sales. And I say all this because in the WordPress world, I feel like there's always that barrier where the person selling things they're just so, I mean, I guess price sensitive for sure, but it's because they're trying to run like a hobby business, but also think like they're Mark Zuckerberg at the same time. And it's just like, you can't connect these two dots. Like, you're either going to think and work on your business, but at the same time, like, you can't complain about like a 6%, 7%, 8%, whatever the transaction fees were as you've been, growing the business. So I have to commend you on like standing your ground and being very positive and still adding more features and listening to the customers over time. I would imagine that the WordPress space is you're particularly challenged with that, right? Over the years, like, people like, oh man, is it 5%? Is it 8%? Why should I pay you? Why should I do this other thing? I assume you hear that more on the WordPress side than if somebody was just building a random piece of software with React.
So I think it's a matter of, being used to things. It's challenging when something that it's not the standard or not common is coming into an ecosystem, and how do you digest that? So, like when everyone were used to WooCommerce, or in general, like plugins in WordPress, that you get the code, it's yours, you do whatever you want with that, but you still need to plug Stripe, right? Or something else. You can just work without it, but that was okay because there's no other way, right? And I think the whole concept of merchant of record, or super payment processors, whatever you want to call that, is just became more popular and known outside of the WordPress ecosystem. So it has a longer track record, right, of being used. So if I'm a new player, a new maker working on my first product, and I'm getting into X or LinkedIn and I'm asking, oh, what should I use? And, you hear 10 answers, 5 of them are payment processor, 5 of them are merchant of record, then it's like part of the norm. In WordPress, that simply wasn't the case. So Freemius was kind of this, different player. So it's pretty normal. And, we said holding our grounds, like we always listening. And like when we started Freemius, the price was ridiculously higher. Right?
I remember that. There's like multiple tiers, and like you had to calculate like, where am I going to end up on this?
Experimented with pricing, and actually Syed, speaking of Syed, like he gave me good feedback. I met him in Loop conference. I think it was in Vegas. And I was like, what do you think? And he was one of the people that gave me authentic, real feedback, no bullshit. So it was good. And as part of the process, I realized in the beginning, because it was hard to get that initial traction, that I have to adjust because my point of reference was wrong. Like the way I looked on Freemius, I said, oh, what is the WordPress what other similar solutions are charging? And for me, the closest was actually marketplaces, because marketplaces solved all those things automatically. So I compared Freemius to marketplace, which is incorrect, obviously. I also want to, say kind of what I learned, and I did try to experiment. Like, if I could for sure, let's say we reduce our price for WordPress by a certain percentage and know that we can get much more makers to use Freemius, much more WordPress plugin theme developers to use Freemius, we would likely do that. But based on what we experimented, and I'll just break down the logic with you, you'll see that it doesn't make sense for us yet. So I would say that for people who are just starting out their product, Freemius became no-brainer in WordPress, because you don't need to pay anything, right? Instead, if you go to EDD, you need to spend like $300, $500, something that as a newbie, you don't have to spend. So you better go with a solution that it's free for you in the beginning. So I think we are in the space right now that it's a no-brainer to go with Freemius if you're starting a new WordPress solution. If you're already processing high volumes, that's when the pricing kind of thing starts to hurt, because you can like really see what it means for you, and you compare, wait, I'm paying X amount of dollars, which is a static annual number, versus like, shit, I need to pay percentage, right? And you start to think, this is worth it or not. And I try to reach out to makers who are in good friends and like really come up that gave me a lot of signals. Some of them, are mutual friends that gave me signals that they really want to use Freemius, and it's just a matter of price. And I kind of told them, name a number, like if that's, I want to experiment. I want to see that this is really the barrier. And they came up with a number, and I tried it with several people that are like friends, and they didn't make the move. They figure out other excuses, found additional barriers to make the that block them from making the transition. So I don't think this is the price. Like if I would see evidence that this is the price and we can get, many more makers to use the platform, like high volume makers, we would do that. In fact, if you go to our pricing page, we now show like higher numbers. Like we are the only one that have like transparent pricing. It's an experimentation. Everyone, like pricing experts telling us that we're stupid and we should not do that. But we say, let's be different on that angle and kind of give you, so you can exactly know how much you're going to pay. And it's kind of the more you make, the less you pay, and it's transparent. And I am pitching that to, high ticket makers, let's call it this way. And I don't think this is it. It's still there. It's still public. And we'll see how it goes. The goal is to try to get those. But I don't think it's a price. There are other reasons. And honestly, what I found is that people in general, it's a big move to make a transition because it's like your entire payment. And in addition to the psychological kind of challenges, there's also, especially in the open source space, like personal investment, because of all the issues in those solutions. You had to yourself learn and fix bugs and develop your own extensions to make it work the way you want it. So you invested in that, I don't know, like tens of hundreds of hours in the past 10 years. It's emotionally so hard to give up on that, right? So until they will feel that the issue, like there is a higher pain, something that they say, fuck it, I'm tired of this shit, I can't keep up with that, or whatever, something bad will happen, they won't really make a move. And it doesn't matter what we offer them, and it doesn't matter what is the price.
It's a fantastic observation. I want to talk about the pricing in a moment. Then I want to get into AI as we sort of wrap things up. But first, can you define the value add of merchant of record and what that means to somebody who's just like, well, why don't I just do Stripe directly? Like, what does merchant of record mean to you? And what's that value that somebody should be seeing in that headline, which is so prominent on the pricing page?
Yeah. So I just want to say that Freemius' main differentiator versus something like Stripe is not the merchant of record. It just by chance happened that we became a merchant of record. That's another story. I can keep it. But I will answer your question, why to go with a merchant of record. So first of all, Stripe or PayPal or other payment processors are not the same as they were 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, the price was 2.9% plus 30 cents for everything, flat price. This is not the situation today. Today, when you're selling subscriptions globally, there are additional, some of them are hidden fees, some of them are not hidden fees, but the effective rate that you're actually paying a payment processor can be easily 2, 3, even 4 times more than that base price. There is 1.5% for cross-border transactions, 0.4% for if you want to do like invoices, You want to do taxes, just monitoring, it's another 0.7%. Like there are so many of those additional fees, so they stack up. So the difference in price, I just wanted to establish that as a base point. The difference in price, if you're selling subscriptions globally, not locally, is not so meaningful anymore. It's almost the same. In terms of the benefits of merchant of record, so merchant of record is the legal entity that basically liable for the transaction and the official relationship, the legal relationship between the customer and the seller, right? So the way the structure works is that, let's say a software is using Freemius, then we are becoming their single customer. They're like selling us their software, we're legally reselling it to their customers. The benefits of that is that all that liability is moved to the merchant of record, which means that they're like we're responsible for the fraud, for dealing with disputes, chargebacks, and there are a lot of those. Give me a second, I'm hearing my son coming, so we'll close the door. This is the way of working from home, you know, the perks. Anyway, so for people who are just starting out, it's a big deal because of fraud. Why? Because if you are just starting out with a payment processor, because those are actually, they call merchant aggregators, you don't establish a relationship directly with Visa or MasterCard. Like Stripe is that aggregator. So there are a lot of like regulations and risks and compliance shit that they have to deal with. So if they see a new account without historical like track record of payment, once you cross 0.75% in disputes rate, you're immediately flagged as high risk. And if it's a bit more than that, it's very easy by them because they can't really predict how successful your solution will be. Right? For them, you're nothing in hundreds of billions of dollars. So they don't want to risk that hundreds of billions of dollars because of that no one right now, right? So they will just block your account because it's very easy. And there are stories like that all the time. So by using a merchant of record, because in the beginning, you will not focus on building security to your checkout. It's just not your thing. You want to focus on launching as soon as possible an MVP and see that there's demand for your product. You don't want to spend, extra 2 weeks just on securing your checkout. It's just not, it doesn't make sense. So by using a merchant of record, because the merchant of record is kind of a single account for Stripe and accountable for all those transactions over the years, right? We develop like multi-layer security, anti-card testing layers because we don't want to get fucked up because of that. Right? So you get kind of an insurance that your account will not get blocked right away. So that's the benefit for someone who is just starting out. For someone who is scaling their business globally, there's the whole headache of global sales taxes. So once you're just selling to a single customer in the US, usually a Delaware company, there are no taxes involved, So basically all the global sales tax compliance, and also there are like privacy regulations. There are compliances happening all the time. It becomes simply the problem of the merchant of record, of Freemius in our case. And whether we comply with something or not, you shouldn't care about it because it becomes legally our problem. So I would say this is kind of the big differences, not the big advantages for like someone who is just starting out and how someone who is scaling, and the price difference is no longer meaningful. So it was a long explanation, but
yeah, no, but it makes total sense. Let's get to that pricing really quick. So if you're a WordPress, and make sure I'm just understanding the pricing page right. So if somebody listening to this is like, okay, I want to move my WordPress sales over, freemius.com/pricing. On the left-hand side, the primary fee is 4.7% plus gateway fees. And then if I'm WordPress, it's an additional 2.3%. Am I getting that correct? So it's roughly 7% plus gateway fees. Is that a fair assessment?
That's exactly right.
And when I start to, okay, so we've got the value down from merchant of record. marketing has like the affiliate program or platform, cart abandonment, coupons and discounts, subscription recovery campaigns. I mean, just that marketing column alone, like those would probably be additional fees, or you're buying some other plugin or you're buying some other service to do these kinds of things. Do you have those conversations with WordPress software folks who are like, okay, it's not just the 7%, it's the 7%, but you're getting all this other, all these other service add-ons, if you will, to help with the marketing and sales of the plugin? Like, do you ever have to paint that picture to that person to say you're getting all this other stuff too? Or do they just look at it and go, man, 7%, like what am I supposed to do with this?
I think it depends. It's hard to tell something that kind of one size fits all. And it depends on, I would say, if I look on kind of a spectrum of makers, there are people who are very techy and people who are business driven. It's very easy to sell Freemius to business driven people.
Yeah.
Right? They just want something that works and focus on their product, innovating, improving, etc. If they can delegate the entire operational headache and hassles to a third party, reducing legal and tax liability, it's very easy decision. If you're very techy and want to control everything and customize everything and own everything and all those perceptional things, then it's becoming more challenging. And like I said, I feel that the price is not the main blocker. So I think that when I'm trying to kind of draw the story, I'm trying to explain that, think about, you have your own team that focus on your money. Because this is what we do, exactly what we do. We, on a daily basis, have a team that, in addition to, marketing Freemius, but we keep improving the money side of your business. You just can't get it yourself. As simple as that. And the way we offer that is this fully integrated business in a box solution with all those best practices, looking on the entire customer life cycle, constantly trying to improve conversion, reduce churn, increase lifetime value. It's there is all this, minions behind the scenes trying to help you make more money. And based on data, we have, hundreds of success stories. Whoever moved to Freemius, they are more successful in Freemius and happier because it just reduced a lot of the headache for them. So that's the story that I'm, trying, the true story that I'm trying to draw. And rather than trying to quantify, this feature or that feature, I think the most heavy resource that is being unnoticeably wasted is the maker's time, right? Oh, it's a little bug. Oh, it's a little update on it. But you end up with so many things, maybe not in the beginning, but over the years, it's all accumulate, and it's just very costly.
I think this is one of the advantages, transitioning over to talking about AI stuff. I think this is one of the advantages you have right now. I've been building these, what I call utility apps. I've been just so I can learn and experiment. I've been building WordPress news aggregators. I've been building podcast aggregators, content that I normally interact with. I call these utility apps because they actually help me with the day-to-day work that I do with media and stuff like that. I haven't set out to do anything commercial yet, but I feel like I'm starting to get more foundation under my feet to be able to build a web app, which I could never have done, a year ago with some apps like Bolt and Replit and stuff like that. The point that I'm getting at is, with a solution like yours, I think people with AI are going to be hopefully more business driven, where they're I've got this app idea, I've got this software idea. I'm certainly not going to build Freemius with my AI. I'm not going to build a Freemius solution with AI. That's too risky. I don't even know where to begin, but I can make this nice little utility app that I can sell to people. They might just turn to Freemius and say, yeah, let me just plug this in. Let me just plug this in as my sales, as my e-commerce for selling this software. And I think that that's a particular advantage you're in the world of AI. Have you seen any customers come through that are like, listen, man, I'm not even a technical person, but I'm building the software with AI and I just want to plug your solution in because it's easy, fast, and I don't really care about the percentage. Like you said, I just want to build this business. And then they'll go out and market and get customers. So the question is, have you seen any of those types of creators come to you yet that are like, I'm not technical, I built this thing, and now I just need to sell it?
Yeah. So first, we're talking about AI in the context of how to, transition to be, I don't want to say AI first. I don't feel we're there yet, but how AI becomes a meaningful part of what we do almost every week. So I didn't personally stumble into a situation of someone who just, built some lovable thingy and, oh, I integrated with Freemius.
Let me tell you, there's some YouTube channels out there who are telling people they can make like $10,000 a day building AI apps.
So this is definitely one of the things that we want to allow people to do, like integrate. I think it's called MCP or something. I'm a little bit remote now from tech because I'm no longer coding these days, but we definitely want to be in that, play in that field of AI and make it possible. I don't think we want like complete junk, 100% AI created apps just to make a quick buck and then we'll create a lot of chargebacks. That's because again, we're the merchant of record. It's like pretty high risky to get those, but it is very possible that the future of apps will start with people who are not coders, people who are more business driven, that go mock an app in one of those solutions and then pass it over to someone who is a developer, but maybe get that initial traction. They will want to connect that to a payment solution in place. So this is definitely one avenue that we want to play in. And I'm already seeing competitors, like a new competitor starting with that single feature, right? Of being able to, with the AI workflows, to integrate a payment solution. It's very basic, very simple, but we definitely want to be in a place where in every API, every AI like app creator, you'll be able to say, cool, it looks good. Now add it to Freemius, and it will just spin you whatever is needed and integrate it with Freemius. And it's doable, and like we are on it, So this is one kind of place we want to be. The other one is access to data. Like right now, the insights and analytics that we show are limited to what we want to offer, right? So yes, you can export the data and analyze it and connect it to Gemini if you already using Google Sheets and all of that, but there's no reason not to introduce this little like chat where you can, hey, tell me what is, the amount of money I made in this country in this month and who were, I don't know, my top customers, whatever. Basically opening up access to the database in a more kind of free text way. This is another thing that we want to do. And obviously insights. We have a lot of data and there's a lot of data out there in the world. So if we can mix the two, right, doing things like pricing insights, right? So based on the data and what's happening outside in your vertical, we think you should increase the price here to this number. Right. So there is a lot of this interesting opportunities coming with AI, and we're strategically thinking about that and hiring data science roles. Yeah, we're in the AI era.
How deep have you started to adopt AI in the business for day-to-day stuff, coding, marketing, content? Are you using it to find efficiencies for your own workflows?
We're all using AI.
Yeah. Is it a company mandate, or do you find that your team is actually interested to learn this stuff, or are you having to be the person who says, go out and adopt this technology?
So I think the dev team is very, in the front of that. I also personally, an early adopter. So obviously I shared it as early as possible with the team because I'm, working with AI probably half of my time.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing in communications, in written communications, especially, not only written anymore.
Right.
So I just see the power of it and how much time it saves. It's just, if you're not using AI, you are losing these
Yeah.
days.
And this morning I made a Descript, the audio video editing app, quickly now becoming like all things AI video as well. I made a video avatar. It has a visual avatar. You write the script. It has a voice. It lip syncs to the avatar. All the effects like transitions and stuff. And I made like a 58-second like ad for WP Minute. And it's just like, man, like this stuff, like it still looks creepy, right? I mean, they just launched it, so it's kind of just like, it's not like you don't believe it's a human, like
Give it a week. Give it a week.
Yeah, give it a week, right? That's exactly it. So it's like literally give it a week, maybe two, and the thing is going to look 100% human, and your mind's going to be blown. And it really actually had me thinking. This is a little off topic, but had me thinking. Maybe this technology isn't for like the techies like you and I and the folks listening to this. But if you're like a landscaping business, like a plumber, and concept of like content marketing and like putting yourself on a video and writing a good script and making ads and stuff like that, like this stuff is going to be, I think, revolutionary for the small business owner as long as they can get it in their hands. I think that stuff is going to be pretty powerful for the folks who have never done this stuff before.
Yeah, it's just, I can see my father using ChatGPT, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Do you see, again, coming off the trip back from PressConf, Rich Tabor talked a lot about this in his presentation. Rich Tabor works at Automatic. He was talking about the use of AI and how like Automatic has, really adopted a lot of, a company-wide thing. Like everyone has to learn AI. Doesn't really matter like which direction you're going in with it, but just like learn it and understand it. And I would imagine the directive is like, hopefully all this stuff benefits WordPress. He was hoping that WordPress can be the CMS of choice for AI. In other words, if I went to AI, I could build a blog. I could say, hey, build me a blog, database backend. I can make posts and pages. Why do all that when like WordPress is already done for you? But maybe you want like it to be 10% different than what WordPress is today. So his hopes are WordPress can become AI's choice for building a CMS. What's your outlook on how WordPress survives through AI and being able to build any platform with AI coding? Are we in a good position or a slightly nervous position with AI and WordPress?
I didn't think about it before, so this is plain 5-second intuition. I think we're not in a good place. And I think our Achilles heel is backward compatibility. Yeah, that's probably my answer. You can't, like, if we would want to adapt to that world, we would have to reimagine WordPress at least from a code base as a start, because you can't like keep staying backward compatible and using the latest technology and move fast like this. Like, as we said, right, every week it's just moving so fast.
Yeah.
And I think that's another weakness, the whole community driven, like decisions are slow.
Yeah.
Unless you appoint someone that will be moving fast, dictating like a squad team, whether it's Automatic or some squad team that has the mandate to move fast. But if you want to move fast, you can do backward compatible as well. So
I was thinking like when I started to learn AI, and I was thinking, man, you know what? Blocks actually sounds pretty good. Like in a world where AI, where you just can prompt it, wouldn't it be great if it just like looked at a core set of WordPress blocks? It was like, oh, this is what you're looking for. Like, here's all these blocks. Let's build it that way. And obviously right now that's just like content, but maybe in the future that would be like admin screen and things like that. And I was like, wow, the concept of blocks actually kind of makes sense with this AI thing. But I think you're absolutely right. It's just like if you're in the past and you're backwards compatibility with everything, I think AI is always going to be thinking about like, what is the latest and greatest? What is the fastest? What is the most optimized? And it's probably just going to look at it and go, write these 12 lines of JavaScript instead of these 80 lines of PHP that you wrote like 15 years ago.
I think it's also another again, this is completely uneducated thinking. I didn't think through the stuff, but
That's largely what this show is about, by the way, Vova.
Okay.
Very few people are,
Good.
especially me, are thinking things through when we're talking here.
So take it with a grain of salt. But the way I think about it, like WordPress and the block editor are still it's still not mature, right? So it's still a premature like move by WordPress, automatic everything. And now there is the AI. And I know how hard it is to focus on two things in parallel. So on one hand, we want to be the best builder, right? On the other hand, suddenly we need to think AI. Like what's more important?
Yeah.
Ask me, AI, probably.
Yeah.
Not the blog builder. I don't know, man. I'm happy I'm not need to make those decisions.
Yeah. Vova Feldman, Freemius.com. Miriam Schwab from Elementor did a really personal address to the PressConf audience during PressConf, talking about what it's like to live and work in Israel in a time of war. And it was a really moving presentation. I hope you are doing well. I hope your family is doing well. And I don't envy the situation. I don't know if it's the same as you with Miriam, but it sounds pretty heart-wrenching to be, trying to work and then getting an app notification that there's attacks happening and you have to go into a bunker for 30 minutes and wait for things. And it was a very moving presentation. And, I just hope that you and yours are healthy and safe through all of this.
I appreciate that.
Freemius.com. You can check out Vova and his team at Freemius.com. Podcast too, right? Where can folks go for the podcast?
Plugin.fm.
That's right. Now, are you going to switch it to software.fm? Now that
that was a perfect name because it's a play word. Like when we started to, when we picked the name, obviously it resonated with the, WordPress audience, but also it's a plug-in.
Yes, very good, very good. Plugin.fm, Freemius.com. Vova, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the WP Minute. This episode is brought to you by our amazing pillar sponsors, Pressable, OmniSend, Bluehost, and Kinsta. Without their support and the support from our WP Minute Slack members, this content wouldn't be possible. Thanks to our Foundation Plus sponsors, Hostinger, Big Scoots, Themile, Optimal, Patchstack, Weglot, Personalized WP, Deploy HQ, and WP World. Their recognition to help support independent WordPress media keeps the lights on. Want to support the WP Minute through sponsorship or joining our members-only Slack? Visit WPMinute.com/support.